Hi, this is Joe with PrepAgent.com. Today I want to go over the vocabulary worksheet that you can find on our website. When people ask me where to begin studying, I always tell them, you got to know the vocabulary. It all starts with vocabulary. If you know your vocabulary, all the rest of the learning will become much easier. So before you do practice questions, watch videos, listen to lectures, you want to know your vocabulary because then everything you're seeing and reading will make a lot more sense. If you don't know your vocabulary, when you're watching these videos, doing these questions, or going to these lectures, everything will essentially sound like Greek. And you'll have to take a step back every time you see a question or hear a word and learn the word. Where if you learn the word and then listen to the lectures, everything will start to make sense and come together much quicker. You got to remember, you're essentially learning another language. And if you've ever had to learn another language, you always start with the vocabulary. Start with the vocabulary and then fill in the spaces in between. The real estate exam is essentially a glorified vocabulary quiz. And if you nail down your vocabulary, you are guaranteed to get a large percentage of the exam correct. There still will be things that you'll find challenging. And those ones, I understand, can be tough. But there's no reason not to know your vocabulary. So with that being said, on PrepAgent.com we offer this vocabulary worksheet. You could edit this vocabulary worksheet as you see fit. We give it to you as a blank template because we want you to be an active learner. And what I mean by that is that I want you to fill out the words. If I give you the words just filled out already, then you'll just stare at it and it doesn't really sink in. It is a proven fact that when you take the time to write the words will sink in a lot faster. Whereas if you're just staring at the words, trying to read them, you'll just zone out. This isn't a story, it's not a movie, it's nothing interesting. It's just vocabulary words. So just looking at them, hoping they'll sink in, is not going to work. Unless you got some freaky superhero power that I don't know about. So we give you this as a blank sheet with the hopes that you'll use the ebook and other resources to fill out each word. A lot of times people don't know which words to put in. I always tell them use as few words as possible when you fill out this vocabulary worksheet. The less you have to remember, the better. And let me show you what I mean. So what I'm going to do is show you a vocabulary worksheet that's all filled out. I'll go through all the words with you. All I'm basically going to do is read them off. I want you to notice how few words I use to define each word or concept. So here I have a vocabulary worksheet all filled out, using as few words as possible. I'm going to go through each one. If you have any questions on each one, please leave comments or send me a message and I'll see if I can answer them. Now remember, these are the words I used. You could use whatever words work for you. So here we go. Bundle of rights. Rights and interest of having titles such as possession, control, exclusion, the right to sell, and of enjoyment. Real property. Goes with the property, generally immovable. Personal property. Goes with the property, generally movable. Chattel real. Personal property. Fixture, was personal, is now real. Maria, method, adaptability, relationship, intention, and agreement. Trade fixture, personal because it goes with a business. Riparian rights, river, moving body of water. Littoral rights, lake, body of water standing still. Accretion, addition of land. Avulsion, tearing away of land. Reliction, gradual rescission of water, leaving land permanently uncovered. Appurtenance runs with the land. Freehold estate, no fixed duration of ownership. Fee simple estate, highest possible ownership, also known as a fee simple absolute. Fee simple to feasible, possesses the property as a fee simple subject to a condition. Life estate, ownership of land for the duration of a person's life. Less than freehold estate, limited period of time. Estate for years, defined period of time, for example 6 months or July 3rd to September 8th. Periodic tenancy, period to period such as month to month. Estate at will, end at any time. Estate at sufferance, landlord is suffering as tenant is in possession past agreed upon period of time. Lease, possession but not ownership from lessor to lessee, considered personal property. Percentage lease, based on a percentage of gross receipts. Net lease, tenant pays taxes, insurance, and maintenance. Gross lease, tenant pays fixed amount. Sandwich lease, primary party is lessee and a lessor. Tenant improvement allowances, allowance to customize, generally for business purposes. Sublease grants possession but not responsibility. Assignment grants possession and responsibility. Surrender, agreement to return the property to the owner before the lease ends. Constructive eviction, landlord fails to do something that he or she has a legal duty to provide. Deed, evidence of transfer. A quitclaim deed, deed releasing a person's interest with no warranties, typically in non-sale situations. Warranty deed, a deed that guarantees a clear title to the buyer of real property. Special warranty deed, seller only warrants or guarantees the title against defects that may have arisen during the period of ownership of the property. General warranty deed, seller warrants a guarantee of the title against defects that may have arisen during the entire life of the property. Title, ownership. Chain of title, history of ownership shows conveyance and encumbrances. Abstract of title is a summary. Cloud of title, defects in title. Example, single woman married. Acquired title action, lawsuit in order to establish a party's title. Alienation of title, capacity of property or property right to be sold or transferred. Title insurance ensures clear and marketable title. Standard policy of title insurance. Standard coverage includes defects that are found in public records, forged documents, incompetent grantors, incorrect marital status, improper delivery of deeds. Alta policy of title insurance protects real property owners and mortgage lenders against losses from defects in title. Extended policy of title insurance includes everything with a standard policy plus defects found in property inspection, which would include unrecorded rights of property's possession, examination of survey, unrecorded liens not known by the policyholder. Severalty, sole ownership. Concurrent estate, ownership with others. Joint tenancy, to tip, time, title, interest, possession, and right of survivorship. Tenancy in common, unity of possession. Encumbrances, limitations. Easements, right to cross. Dominant tenement, gaining the benefit of the easement. Servient tenement, suffers the burden of the easement. Easement by prescription, granted after you use the property in a hostile, continuous, and open manner for a statutory prescribed number of years. Appurtenant easement, right to use the adjoining property that transfers the land. Easement in gross, no dominant tenement. Government powers, PEAT, police power, escheat, taxation, eminent domain. Police power states the ability to regulate for the betterment of the health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community. Zoning, police power that divides into areas for designated use. Variance, exception to the rule. Downzoning, commercial and residential. Grandfather clause, exempt from the new rule. Non-conforming use, a type of zoning variance where a parcel of land may be given an exception from a current zoning ordinance due to improvements made by a prior owner or before the current zoning ordinances made the desired use non-conforming under local law. Building codes, protects public health, safety, and general welfare. Escheat, reversion of the property to the state when the owner dies without heirs. Intestate, no will. Testate has a will. Probate, executor of the state of the deceased person to sell property in order to divide the property among the beneficiaries. Holographic will, written by hand. Taxation, financial charge by a state to fund various public expenditures. Marginal tax rate, percentage taken for your next dollar of taxable income. 1031 tax deferred exchange, defers taxes. Identify 45 days, acquire within 180 days of closing previous property. Boot, fair market value of other property received in an exchange. Ad valorem, Latin for according to value. Eminent domain, government's ability to take private property for public use. Condemnation, process of compensating a person when a property is taken by eminent domain. Inverse condemnation, suing the government for just compensation when property is taken. Encroachment, when a structure is built in part on a neighbor's property. Liens, money owed. General lien, lien against all property. Specific liens, lien that is on a single property. Voluntary lien, lien that exists because of an action taken by a debtor. Involuntary liens, liens that were imposed on an individual, example, taxes and judgment liens. Mechanic's lien, lien on behalf of those who have supplied labor or material that have improved the property. Judgment lien, lien placed by the court. Lease pendants, lawsuit pending involving either the title to the property or claimed ownership interest in it. Injunctions, court order that compels a party to do or refrain from specific acts. Constructive notice signifies that a person should have known as a reasonable person would have. Actual notice personally given to somebody. Escrow, neutral third party. Debit, money owed. Credit, money received. Impounds, money set aside by a lender to pay for recurring costs that take priority over the loan, such as taxes and insurance. RESPA, eliminating kickbacks and referral fees, which add unnecessary costs to settlement services. TILA, Truth in Lending Act, informed use of consumer credit. TILA, Truth in Lending Acts, informed use of consumer credit, require disclosure about its terms and costs to standardize the manner in which costs associated with borrowing are calculated and disclosed. Fair Housing Act, 1968 Act, banning refusal to sell or rent a dwelling to any person because of race, color, religion, sex, or national origin. Jones v. Mayer, 1968 court case that barred all racial discrimination, private as well as public, in the sale or rental of property based upon the 13th Amendment. Sherman Antitrust Act bans anti-competitive behavior such as price fixing. American with Disabilities Act, 1990 Act prohibiting discrimination against people with disabilities in employment, transportation, public accommodation, communications, and governmental activities. Material fact, a fact that if known may have caused a buyer or seller of real estate to make a different decision. Steering, buyers, you should live by those people. Blockbusting, sellers, you better sell because you don't want to live by those people. Panic selling and panic peddling, same as blockbusting. Redlining, denying services such as a loan either directly or through selectively raising prices to residents of certain areas based on race or ethnicity. Misrepresentation, the action or offense of giving a false, misleading account of the nature of something. Actual fraud, fraud committed with the actual intent to deceive and thereby injure another. Constructive fraud, a person gained an unfair advantage over another by unfair methods. Intent does not need to be shown. Commingling, mixing of funds. Puffing, gross exaggeration of facts. Caveat emptor, Latin for buyers beware. Essential of a valid contract, mutual consent, lawful object, consideration, capable parties. Void contract, lacks one of the four essential elements. Voidable contract, option to rescind. Bilateral, promise for a promise, example would be an exclusive listing. Unilateral, promise for an act, example would be an open listing or an option contract. Executed contract, a contract that has been fully performed. Executory contract, a contract that has not yet been fully performed. The statute of frauds state what contracts must be in writing. Statute of limitations states time frames for certain contracts. Novation, Latin for new as it relates to contracts. Codicil, amendment. Agency, accord, accountability, care, obedience, loyalty, and disclosure. Fiduciary, a position of trust, good faith, and honesty. Actual authority, expressly conferred by a principal to an agent to act on the principal's behalf. Ostensible authority, authority granted by acceptance of action on the principal's behalf. Dual agent, buyer and seller have the same broker. General agent, authorized to perform any and all acts associated with the job. A real estate license acting in the capacity of a property manager. Special agent, limited authority granted to him or her through a principal. Relationships with the principal is not expected to be continuous. Listing contracts create a special agency. Estoppel prevents asserting something contrary to what is implied by a previous action or statement. Listing, bilateral employment contract. Exclusive listing, one broker can be paid. Exclusive agency listing, owner sells and gets nothing. You need to show that you're the procuring cause in order to be compensated. exclusive authorization and right to sell listing. Broker gets paid if the property is sold regardless of procuring cause. Open listing, seller could hire multiple brokers. Broker that provides procuring cause will be compensated. Net listing, money received above and beyond a designated amount. Protection period clause, also known as a safety clause, compensated after listing expires if you could prove you're the procuring cause. Contingency clause defines a condition or action that must be met in order for real estate contract to become binding. Hold harmless clause, also known as a liability waiver, agreement whereby parties agreed not to hold the other responsible for any loss, damage, or legal liability that may arise under the agreement. Interim occupancy agreement, staying after the sale. Deposit, placing something of value to show you are serious about your offer. Value, what a willing, able buyer will pay on the open market. Essential elements of value, stud, scarcity, transferability, utility, demand. Principle of substitution, no prudent person would pay for a property when another one is readily available that has the same use, design, and income for less. Principle of contribution, how much does an item contribute to the net income of the property? Principle of regression, the value of a more expensive home placed in the neighborhood of a less expensive homes will drop in value. Principle of progression, the value of less expensive properties will increase when placed in an area of more expensive properties. Principle of highest and best use, how much of a net return can you get by building on the property? If the use is temporary, it would then be considered the interim use. Plottage, 1 + 1 = 3. Appraisal, estimate of value. Narrative appraisal, a comprehensive appraisal report. Market data comparison approach. Examination, comparison of actual sales of comparable properties, best used to find values of houses and vacant lots. Cost replacement approach. Find out how much it would cost to replace the building brand new, better for new buildings, not old. Capitalization income approach converts income into value. A property that could prove to bring in more income will increase the value, most appropriate for a shopping center. Gross multipliers, price divided by rent. Cap rate, higher cap rate represents higher risk. Acre, 43,560 square feet. Depreciation, loss in value to any cause. Physical deterioration, wear and tear. Functional obsolescence, poor planning. Economic obsolescence, outside causes. Mortgage, a voluntary specific lien. Mortgage brokers, intermediary between consumers and lenders. Mortgage brokers originate loans while the mortgage lender funds the loans. Mortgage banker, a direct mortgage lender. Interest, rent on money. Leverage, borrowed capital to increase the potential return of an investment. Amortization, the payment of a debt. Negative amortization, interest paid but debt increases. Balloon loan, loan that does not fully amortize over its term. Appreciation, increase in value over time. Construction loan, short-term loan used to finance the building of a property. Obligatory advances, money given during a construction loan at agreed-upon stages. Participation loan, a loan that requires interest plus a portion of the profits as payments. Interim loan, short-term financing. Takeout loan, long-term loan that replaces interim financing such as short-term construction loan, usually mortgages with fixed payments that are amortized. Subject to, seller liable, buyer not liable. Assume, relieves seller, buyer is liable. Hypothecate, pledging an asset as collateral for a loan while retaining ownership. Subordination clause, current debts will take priority over debts made in the future. Prepayment clause, provision that permits a borrower to satisfy debt before its due date. Prepayment penalty, regulates what the borrower is allowed to pay off and when. Due on sales clause, balance of the loan may be called to repay in full upon sale. Primary mortgage market, where lenders make mortgage loans directly to borrowers. Secondary mortgage market, resale marketplace. Insurance companies prefer income-producing properties and long-term large industrial projects, frequently demand to be able to participate in a loan. Savings and Loan Association, a state or federally chartered financial intermediary that accepts deposits from the public and invests those funds primarily in residential loans. FHA, small down payment required, ensures the lender does not make loans. Unconventional loans because they are backed by the government, no prepayment penalty, 1 to 4 units owner occupied. VA loan does not require down payment, however the lender can require one. Owner occupied, house, condo, or townhouse. Ginnie Mae, a governmental part of the secondary market that deals primarily in recycling VA and FHA loans. Fannie Mae, federally sponsored private corporation which provides a secondary market for housing mortgages. There you have it. That is the vocabulary worksheet that you can find on PrepAgent.com. Once again, you can fill it out and modify it as you see fit. If you have any questions, let us know. And remember, to pass your exam, go to PrepAgent.com.